We will stop about halfway through and open it up to some questions, and then at the end of our webinar there'll be some time for questions as well. Also at the end of the webinar, all of our contact information will be available, so if questions do come up later in the day or tomorrow, feel free to reach out to either one of us. We'd be happy to chat with you more about the content on today's webinar. Just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to be doing today, I'm going to chat with you for a minute or two just about Pomfret School and give you a very short overview, and just so you get a sense as to where we are coming from. And then Robin will dive in and really get into detail about our media team and how under her guidance Pomfret has really been able to utilize student-led communication efforts not only to enhance our school to prospective families and in helping my office, but also in marketing across the board to all constituents involved directly and indirectly with Pomfret School. We'll then switch gears a little bit and talk to you about one of Pomfret's newest initiatives, and that's Project Pomfret, and how we were able to really capture, package, and present one of our distinctive programs at Pomfret through the lens of our current students. Like Karen said, we'll have the PowerPoint available afterwards. And we'll be able to send that out to all of you in the next day or so you have all the information in front of you. So let's dive right in here. And we're going to go to the next slide here. Pomfret School, located in sunny Pomfret, Connecticut, in the northeast corner of the state of Connecticut, about 10 miles south of the Massachusetts border. Like you can see here, we're about an hour from Boston, 3 hours from New York City. We sit on a 500-acre campus. Close to 95% of our faculty live right on campus. We're an independent co-ed college preparatory boarding and day school with grades 9 through 12, and then a small postgraduate program with about 12 postgraduates right now. Majority of our new students coming in every year are 9th and 10th graders. Our enrollment was 357 students at the start of the year here from 25 different states, 20 different countries. We're about 17% international students overall. And you'll see here about 275 boarders. So about 79, 80% of our students are boarding students here. Like many independent schools and the majority of boarding schools, we have after-school requirements where students are required to do some sort of activity after school. And you'll see here in 9th and 10th grade students, team participation is required in all 3 seasons. So in the fall, in the winter, and in the spring, they need to be doing some sort of team activity after school. That changes a little bit in 11th and 12th grade. 2 out of the 3 seasons, team participation is required. And you'll see at the bottom here a lot of different activities you can choose from. So we have a wide range, a full interscholastic sports program offering everything from football to squash to crew to tennis. We have a performing arts program where we have dance courses after school. We have a dance team after school. We do 3 major productions in our theater as well, so students could choose to be in our musical in the winter or a drama in the fall. We have a robust community service program that's offered after school as well. We have an outdoor adventure program that goes hiking, orienteering, kayaking, overnight trips. And then finally, and this is what we're going to focus on a little bit for the first half of this webinar, we have a media team that has been in existence for 2.5 years under the direction of Robin Cook. And she's going to talk to you a little bit more about how this has emerged into one of our really popular programs here the past 2.5 years at Pomfret.
Hi everyone. I'm proud to be part of the Marketing and Communications office here at Pomfret. We are the office that handles all the communication and marketing for every department within the school. And as you can see, we have quite a interesting group of people that put together, brainstorm, and communicate the vision brand of the school. And the media team works with this department to present all the material in the eyes of the students. I put together some statistics to show in the 8 trimesters how many students I've worked with and a little bit about the demographics of who they are. And I think the stat is interesting to show you that it is a good mix of students throughout the school. And the other thing that I find interesting is that I often get a student who may try this because they're tired of a sport or they're just unsure of what sport they want to do, and then they go off and they go back into the more traditional. But I really have enjoyed all the students that I've worked with. The media team works closely with this office. They have projects that we send to them. They come up with their own projects. They're embedded in the life of the school. I love this picture because this fall when I went out with the group, we were actually going to photograph something different. And one of the kids said, let's make a pyramid. So we were on the front lawn of the school, and it took quite a bit of time to actually get this shot. But as you can tell with the faces, the kids thoroughly enjoyed it. It was totally impromptu, and that's what can make a difference in our photography and our projects. So to be a member of the team, they have to have some experience. They have to have formal class of photography or digital arts or video, and also present some of that work. The other thing I really ask them to do is if they are not going to participate in a sport or activity that they did the year before here, that they talk with the coaches. We work closely with the athletic department so that the students who are doing this understand the value and also understand the importance of being part of a team. We do have tryouts. They do have to present a written application. That's normally an email to me, and I give them a series of items that they have to tell me about. We do a formal interview with them, and we ask them a series of questions about why they're doing it, what they hope to get out of it, kind of ask them questions just as you would in a job or an internship interview. And then we ask them to show us, take out your phone and show us some of your pictures and anything else. The other thing I do is I always check with their advisor and check with the athletic department to make sure that they can be part of a team that has some independent work components. This is a sample of our schedule to give you an overview of the fact that this team does work just as they would on a varsity team. We have 2 official team meetings a week that we are in the computer lab going through the photos, reviewing projects, doing assignments, brainstorming. A lot of different things happen there. 2 days a week in order to continue work on fitness. They do have a required workout session in our fitness center, and they can also go at other times, but 2 days a week we still encourage that. Most of the students I've worked with are athletes in other seasons, and so they have a pretty good work ethic on their own. Wednesday and Saturdays we're normally covering the athletics. The students will be tweeting, texting me scores for tweets or taking photographs. They'll cover our drama events, special events on campus. For example, today we're doing a Show Your Love campaign with Advancement, and the students will be working with the Pomfret Fund Director to put up the hearts that are going to be around the campus talking about why to give, and they're going to photograph that, and then those will be used in the Show Your Love campaign in February. Notice at the bottom I put daily. Something that people don't realize is the students have their phones, and we do encourage them when they're in class or have that photographic moment to discreetly take a picture of it, and they will from time to time send me things during the day of a teaching moment or just a scenic shot as they're walking. And I have to say the faculty here have been really supportive of letting our students capture the life of the school. So equipment, how have we put this team together? Each student has a mobile device. Majority of the students have iPhones. A couple people have Android, and they're very adept at it, probably better than I am. We've been able to put together enough cameras for the team. This is the first term where I have actually every student has a Canon computer with them most times. We were able to repurpose cameras from our digital photography class. We're getting in a few more lenses, and we also use my personal equipment bag and our office equipment bag. And we're slowly building the equipment. But in 8 trimesters, we have been able to get to this point without a major expense of the school, on the school, sorry. So this is how, when I talk with students who want to join the media team, you know, supporting the school, but also how does it support them? What does this give them back in addition to doing that afternoon activity? And I really point up the real world experience, and that the fact that they can enhance their positive digital footprint. In this day and age, we need to continue educating students on how to publish correctly that will help them in the future, and by the school working with them and publishing their work, that will speak volumes as they move through their career. So I'm just going to go through a series of slides where I've done some screenshots to show you where we use student photography and student work. You can go to our website and find all of this in some form, whether it's our social media links, or this is an example of website photography where we've used a student's work as a banner. And then we have a student who photographed one of our Project Pomfret groups, which we'll talk about later, and also wrote about it. Every time we use student work, you'll notice that we give them credit. We use it on the web for front page photos. The athletics in particular, we do a lot of photography, and we right now have these two photos up on the website, recently taken by students. These are captured in the moment, and I chose these because you will see the expressions on their faces, and you can't get that type of photography with a staged shot. We take a lot of photos of campus life too. And then one of our special projects, this is a page on the website, Pomfret A to Z. You can get to it off our front page. I challenged the students this fall to take the alphabet and come up with words for each letter that describe Pomfret. And then we're going to continue working on this project with more interactivity and possibly change up the pictures. But this was an example of them having a creative project, working together collaboratively over the course of a term with everything else they were doing to come up with a kind of a unique page about what Pomfret means to them. Another interesting thing that students submit photography for that I challenge the media team is to take pictures of our campus, so that for our alumni, but also just to showcase to the world the scenic beauty that we have at our school, and I'm sure everyone has at their schools. And we put these up on the website as wallpapers so that people can have pictures from school, and we're exclusively using student photography for this. Our Tuck Shop, this was a project that we started, I think about the first or second trimester. There are 24 frames, 2x4 photo frames in our Tuck Shop, our student center. I tried to do a close-up here and then also show you in the background of the ping pong player along the wall. And each term the students are responsible for taking the photography, selecting the pictures, working with our graphic designer to get them printed. We do have a poster printer in-house that we use, and then they actually go and hang them. We actually take the frames down. They have to do all the work on this, and they're very proud of this particular element of their work. This year we have an auction to benefit the Pomfret experience, and we have over probably about 100 of these photos now that are going to be auctioned or available at the auction, and also will be part of the decoration for the auction, the Pomfret experience. Social media, big area that the students get involved in. I have two areas that the students do directly upload to, and then I'm always on there anyway, so there is a filter. And so here's an example of Instagram that the students upload, and they may get pictures from their friends. We're always citing who did the photo. Also trying to work on writing there. Twitter, this is an example from athletics where the students are assigned to cover games, and we try and put up some information about all our home contests. Tumblr, this is an interesting blog about student fashion, and the students, depending on the term and who I have available, it sometimes is a lot on there and sometimes not a lot, but it gives the life of the school. Our Facebook, our school Facebook page, they contribute to that through me and in Google+. And now we get into more of our formal publications, our Pomfret magazine. This is a cover in the fall of 2012. The bottom photo was staged by the team, and the team are the models in it. This was a project that we did with a graduate. He's now graduated, Joni Richmond, in the class of 2013. Quite an experience trying to find that location on our campus, because the original photo was 1934, and we had everyone on campus trying to figure out, did we pick the right spot? And it really was an interesting adventure. I said I was the gopher. I was directing traffic on the street while the kids were setting up and shooting. Another example of using student photography in our Pomfret magazine and the team is this photo, which was staged by a student, and actually in reality he was not a member of the team, but a team member pointed it out, and we ended up using this photo. So the team also inspires other students who may not have the time or the ability to join us because they're in 3 sports. They can still contribute. The view book, the same shot that we did back in the magazine. I know it'll be a little hard to see that it's the same students, but we did a couple of shots that day. And I was particularly fond of this area because this is our Pomfret gate, and then we have our schoolhouse in the background. And what I wanted to show you here is, while we're shooting now everything wide, we can take, through the wonders of technology, you can take pictures and use pieces of them. So this is our actual view book this year, and you'll notice again on the view book cover we actually do cite the student that was the photographer. And this I have to just marvel at. This fall I sent the students out with their phones to just walk around campus, take shots the first couple of days. On the right you'll see the original iPhone photo. And then on the left you will see that our graphic designer used a piece of that photo for our annual report. And also we had postcards made for this. So it really is amazing how the technology in their pockets can contribute to everything you do marketing with the school. The media team also works with community service. Not only do we take photos, but we will help out. This is an example at the blood drive where the team was taking photos, inspiring those who were giving blood. And then also we took photos, you'll see in the bottom there, with students and faculty why they gave, so that we can do a quick promo piece for the next video for them. And then we also help out at places like the Hole in the Wall Gang and also the local Arboretum, where the kids will take some photos, the media team, and then they will actually help. Good example of photo shoots and real-world experience. We did a photo of the full faculty this fall, and we had a student actually taking the photo. And admissions, which this is all leading into, is the fact that these pictures are telling the life of our school and allowing students to see, do they fit here? Is this the place for them? Can they see themselves here? Advancement, I've talked about this already. We work on campaigns for them, the mini campaigns. We also will help them stuff envelopes if they need it. Artwork, for example, the picture of our church, that was an actual painting that a student did specifically for us last year for our end of year appeal. And then that Griffey is our mascot, and we did some Where is Griffey for our Facebook. And these are 2 pictures that we just kind of play around with. We're trying to make Pomfret in letters, the top picture, and then the bottom is Pomfret in architecture. And the bottom was actually used in our magazine. So I'll pause at this point and see if there's questions.
Robin, someone is asking what they're curious about what CMS you use for the school website.
The school website, we work with Whipple Hill out of New Hampshire, and we have all of our website and LMS CMS off of that.
Great. Laura's asking, how are they with deadlines?
They are actually pretty good with deadlines. We do text a lot. I forgot to mention the fact that one of the requirements is they have to have my phone number and I have to have theirs, and they have to respond to me. It really depends on the creativity. Sometimes, like the A to Z, I thought that would be an easy 1-week project, and it turned out it took most of the term because we were having to come up with not just the right words, but then the right picture.
Great. Desiree is asking, how and when do you invite students to be part of the team?
Each term, just as varsity teams try out, the media team tries out. So I put the word out pretty early on, just as coaches do. I have been in private schools for 33 years, so I used to be a coach and a recruiter. And so I already am starting the list for the spring, and they try out again, just like varsity, JV sports.
And I would add, I would add to that too, as far as on the admissions end, we're starting to ask more and more students what activities they'd like to do after school and offering, media as a choice. So we've been starring those students that are coming through as prospective applicants right now, and we'll be sending those along to Robin once we have read applications, if they get acceptances to us, for her to follow up, just in terms of some of our other coaches reaching out to someone who might be interested in basketball or hockey, so she can do some outreach and say, hey, I've heard you're interested in the media team. Congratulations on your acceptance. I'd love to talk to you more about it.
Great, thank you. We actually have quite a few questions here, so I'm going to get to as many as I can in just a couple minutes because I don't want to keep you for too long. Joshua is asking, how do you balance student versus adult leadership?
Student versus adult leadership is interesting. That's a very good question. I do have project managers for each of our projects, so I also try and work just as I would with my varsity team. I encourage students to step up and require them to each lead a project and work collaboratively with myself. Jordan Campaign, who's our designer in the marketing communications office, assists me, and he's done a great job with them. They sometimes go out, Sharon Godrow, our director, to hang posters in the community. We all work with them and we all lead by example.
Great, thank you. Steve comments, I see a lot of photography. How much do students contribute to writing?
Writing really depends, and video really depends on who I get and their level of experience. Video, we've dabbled in video. You'll see in Project Pomfret some use of video, and then writing, depending on, again, on the level of the student, we try and encourage them to, if they go to photograph an event, to write a news story, which is a headline, a short description, and then about 250 words. And we always, again, will give them credit. They just love photography. They love the cameras.
Thank you. He also is asking, how do you filter photos? Do you have any restrictions in your handbook when it comes to photography, i.e. time of day, location, etc.?
I'm sorry, say the last part again.
Whether you have any restrictions in your handbook when it comes to photography regarding the time of day or location?
We really don't. If a student is in class, and again, it's a learning moment, they can discreetly ask the teacher. Teachers do say no. And the students, I try and work with them and talk to them about the appropriateness of when to use it and when not to use it, including when we have our senior chapel and other chapel events and speakers. We just had our Schwartz Visiting Fellow this week, Dustin Sandlin from Smarter Every Day, and he encouraged the kids to be tweeting during his lectures and class discussions. So working on etiquette, digital usage, all the things like that, all those real-world skills that they need to be successful when they leave us.
Thank you. We'll just reach a couple more of these at this point, and I'll save some more for the end. Carol's asking, does this same team get involved with the yearbook?
No, the yearbook at Pomfret is actually a full, two trimester course. So we do exchange photos a lot between the two groups. We have a server on campus that students can access when they're on school machines, so that we upload all our photos there. The students learn how to label how to bring them into Bridge and label them properly. They might do a little bit in Photoshop. Again, they have to have a course so that we don't have to spend as much teaching time on the basics so that we can get them out in the field. And then we do share photos back and forth.
Great. Wallace is asking, do you ever send media team members to away games or off-campus functions?
If a media team member volunteers and there is room on a van, and particularly when we get into tournament play, we do take them. Transportation is sometimes very tight to get them there, but we do take them when needed to events and otherwise to give them that real-world experience. And it really depends on what transportation is available.
Okay. Desiree is asking, what percentage of your media team is dedicated to the cover of athletics?
Every member of the media team does some part in photography and score reporting, and we cycle through. I keep a spreadsheet and cycle through so that everybody learns about sports. I'll take Luan, for example, the student in the right, in the red Pomfret. Did not know about squash or what it was all about, so I spent an afternoon with him at the squash courts. We were taking pictures and talking about the game and how to report on it and learning about it. So there's learning opportunities in all this.
Caitlin is asking, to which accounts, if any, do students have access to post directly, and is there a review process for posts?
The only two accounts students post directly is our Instagram and our lookbook, and I monitor them very closely. I also have the admin access on all of that, and the students do a training process with me. And I do have to say they have been really good about that. They've earned that right. I'd love to branch out more. At a school that I used to work at, I actually had 9 students selected from middle school through senior that were each had an official Twitter account to tweet about their day, and that was a page under the admissions on the website. It's a lot of work and a lot of monitoring, but to hear it from the mouths of the students, again, allows your school to showcase the life of the school.
Robin, I'm going to read one more question. We'll save some more for the end. And please note, everyone that's listening, I will be sending a transcript of this to Robin and Carson following the webinar. So if there's any questions that you have, feel free to send them to Robin and Carson directly. Robin, David is asking, what is the balance between student photography and professional photography that's used by the school?
Great question. I'm glad I gave Carson the thumbs up because we no longer use professional photographers now. We would bring a photographer in for our sports action photography, and through the development of this program, and as you can see from the print materials I showed you, we do all our photography now in-house. Lindsay Lehman, who's the yearbook advisor, and our photography teacher takes a lot of photos for the school. And then within Marcom, we go out with cameras often, and in reality, these students provide us so much interesting views of the school and scenes that we no longer pay for a professional photographer. Our latest view book is all in-house photography.
That's pretty amazing. If I could ask you one more question before we move on. Karen is asking, what percentage of your job is devoted to managing the team?
As part of my job, the team, it would be the equivalent of an afternoon sport, a varsity level sport. I'm the Director of Electronic Communications, which is the biggest part of my job. I do teach a website design class, and then I coach 3 seasons. So it is the equivalent of a coach.
Okay, we still do have some questions in the queue, but if you'd like to move on at this point, we can save them for the end.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
All right, we're going to switch gears a little bit, but still have some similar themes here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our newest initiative that we just started in December 2013 called Project Pomfret. And this kind of spurred out of a number of different levels. First off, we, like many schools, we're a trimester school and always trying to work on our schedule and manage that schedule to making sure that we get the peak performance from our students. We noticed the past few years, and many of you can probably attest to this, that 2.5-week middle period between after Thanksgiving break and before we go on holiday break. So that end of November, beginning of December time, that 2.5 weeks. And we're feeling like many times we come back, do our 2.5 weeks, then go away for 3 weeks and come back and end up teaching the same thing or going over and reviewing the same thing for the first week we get back. So we decided to switch things up a little bit and came up with Project Pomfret. You'll see we kicked this off this past year, and basically it's a 2.5-week interdisciplinary project-based learning period that allowed both students and faculty to focus on thematic projects. It allowed our faculty, oftentimes in many departments, to work together. That's something they're really excited about. It allowed our students to have some choice in what they're learning and taking a class for pure enrichment purposes. At the end of this project period, and we'll show you in a little bit, there was some sort of measurable, some sort of deliverable that all the groups needed to work on. But it was pretty amazing. Right before Thanksgiving break, we had a fair, a Project Pomfret fair, where our faculty members, we had 28 different courses. We had our faculty members showcasing what their project was going to be and having students sign up for that. And just to give you a couple examples of some of the projects here, we had a group investigate the life of Civil War soldiers, particularly from Northeast Connecticut. We had a group discover the history of food. We had some students comparing Eastern and Western educational systems. We had some students researching the influence of the Hispanic community in the United States. We had a group actually go out and build a bridge, and while they were building that bridge, they were also filming a documentary on it. So we had one of our science teachers and one of our English teachers working together on that. We had a group of students analyze and explore our environmental energy use on our campus and then develop a plan to help reduce that energy consumption in one of our school buildings. It was a great 2.5 weeks. To be honest, as an admissions director, I was a little nervous coming in, just wondering what the campus would look like while visitors came through, and I had really positive feedback. You had kids out of their desks doing hands-on learning, and we kept a lot of the same things in our schedule the same. So we still had our chapel, our weekly chapel. We still had sit-down lunch on Tuesdays. The athletic after-school activities still went on. We had study hall at night in the evening, as kids still had homework and still had things to prepare for their project. But it was a great 2.5 weeks. We're excited to do it next year, and really found that it was a program that really separates us from some other people. So, of course, being in the seat in admissions, I'm thinking to myself, how do we capture this program? How do we showcase this to prospective families coming in and show them firsthand, what type of special 2.5 weeks this was? And this really came back to something that Robin was working on through the Project Pomfret and showing it through the lens of the student. And this is what kind of formed one of our projects during the Pomfret project period in their own words. And Robin's going to talk a little bit more about that.
So as a faculty member at Pomfret School, I had the honor of serving on the committee that developed the project and then also participated in the training session. The Buck Institute came in to train. I think there was about 25 faculty members last June. We had 3 or 4 days of training. And I was sitting there with two hats, one a faculty member wanting to teach something new and different in the tech area. Or I used to teach history, so I had all these visions as we were learning how to develop it. But then my hat as the Director of Electronic Communications was like, how do I cover all this? And I thought, once again, students really can tell the story for our schools. They are who we are here for. And so our challenge was, how do we tell the story? And we needed to present it in such a way that they learned, because this was really heavy into academics and use of technology, and also have the experience through the eyes of all the people. So we put together, myself and two colleagues put together our project in which we were going to present the story of Project Pomfret. And I have on my slides the page on our website, pomfretschool.org/Project Pomfret, where we collected all the stories, the videos, news articles, etc. that does tell the story. So please feel free to go there and really jump into what we did. I had asked for a project where I had students of all age levels. I love working with all age levels. I teach them, and I have a web design class, and I have freshmen through seniors in there. The school, we determined that it would be better to have our groups divided, freshmen and sophomores and juniors and seniors. So my project group, I had the pleasure of working with these freshmen and sophomores, and you'll see the faculty advisors, three of us, very different areas of work here at Pomfret. And we then also worked with our campus video producer, our AV guy, on the final video, because the amount of video we had and everything, training the students, he was also a support on that. So we started out by trying to give the students some training. What does it mean to be a reporter? And we had a field trip to the local radio station that really allowed the students to get in there and talk with the reporter and see how news is done. We then had Mark Aller from the local newspaper actually come to us and give us his background of where he was and where he sees news going. We then had another field trip over to NBC 30, where we have an alum working who was very gracious, the station, to let our students see a news broadcast, how they prepare. And then lastly, we had an alum, Libby Wood, who's a professional photographer, come in and talk to us and share her passion for photography and connect with the students on many different levels. We then also, or even before, brainstormed on how we were going to cover 29 projects. We had to also cover ourselves because every project had that end result. What was the driving question, and then the final project. And my group early on wanted to do a video and also report on the various projects. So we divided them up randomly and tried to make it so that every project had at least 2 people assigned to it, and then 2 different people. So the students were always working with different, quite a logistical nightmare, but we had all the time, sometimes during the day, to compare notes and really make sure we had adequate coverage. What you're seeing here are screen prints, screen grabs from our digital signage, and so during the project, every day the students would come back with their photography and submit it and work on the various aspects on how they were going to show each project. They did a variety of ways. We didn't actually accomplish everything we set out to do because there was so many things to cover and so many different ways to cover it. So I'm just going to show you some other ways that our students publish and how they did for Project Pomfret. We had students write for our school blog. We have a WordPress blog that's an eclectic mix of writing from faculty and students. We had news items for our website. If you go back and search on December, you'll see news items written by the students. And one student may have written the news piece, and another student may have done the photography. We worked on them on how to prepare a story, what to look for, what the elements are. We did proofing process, peer proofing, and then faculty proofing, trying to do all the steps for good journalism. This picture you saw before, their photography was all gathered, and then we made smug mug galleries for each of them and then pulled that into the website. Our workspace was in the marketing and communications office. This is kind of, there's an open area, and we took this picture from above. The kids brought their laptops with them every day. They had their phones. We had various flow charts up in paper about who was doing what, where people were, and they all just worked. It was truly amazing, the energy in our offices. We in marketing and communications really missed the group because they were so much fun over here, and they really had energy. The neatest thing about this, if I could say that, is the fact that we got to experience Project Pomfret in every single project. Our kids went on field trips. They were out videotaping at the bridge building. They sat in on different lectures. They got to do food testing. And so to wrap it up, you can go to our website. I won't take time now. We have about a 6-minute video in your own words where the students used primarily their phones and then a few of the media team cameras, but this was mostly done via phones, and it is really in their own words. They had to actually script this and put it in order and then work on the music that they wanted, the speed, and then the other part of the project at the end of December when we were wrapping up was we had, I think, a day, about a full day, it was split between 2 days, where every group presented their project to the rest of the school. And so we also had a group present a PowerPoint presentation on how they put this all together. So at this point, we can talk about Project Pomfret and take a few questions.
Okay, Robin, I still have some questions about the media team, so if you don't mind, I'll start with some of those.
Yep, that's fine.
Okay, Diego's asking, how do you maintain student interest in this program? He's asking if you have students who leave after a few weeks.
They don't. They make the decision to join it, and it's really almost like a class or a team again, where you have to really work with them, find their interests, and keep them moving along. I've never had a student leave once they've made the team. I have had students on occasion miss deadlines, and then you have to sit them down and explain the situation and find out what's going on, where's the work, and go from there. But I've been very fortunate that the students really want to do this. The picture I have up right now is the fall, and I think I took on too many kids. I ended up with 15, which was, I honestly have to say, was a lot. They were a great group. They worked well together. So they really want to do it. This is for them.
Thank you. Jennifer's asking, what were some of the growing pains of getting started? She has a one-person communication and marketing shop, so she's wondering if she would have time to set up and manage a program like this.
The growing pains are the management or the coaching of it, the adult leadership. You need to have somebody who is willing to spend the time. I do run around some days to check up on them. I also, honestly, you have to fill in some of the gaps at times. Then the other thing is also not having a budget, so that any equipment that we have has come from the marketing and communications budget, and we continue to look at ways to maximize the dollars and allow the students to use equipment they would use professionally. So the growing pains really are getting the credibility for the program, getting the interest, and then getting the equipment.
Okay, this may speak to one of the previous questions, but does the communications department have guidelines or regulations for students about posting photos and publishing on social media?
We have our basic guidelines according to the handbook, and we adhere to those, and I continue to work on positive digital footprint. So as I educate the students on their role of being a good citizen in social media, that then trickles into how we present ourselves as the school. And I'm constantly reminding those students and other students, as my role as Director of Electronic Communications, I do monitor our brand across all channels, and I use those as learning moments for our students when I do find something that I think they should perhaps think twice about.
Great, thank you. Tara is asking if you have any do not photograph restrictions for some students, and if so, do you share that information with the media team, or how do you handle those issues?
We have a very few, and I do not share that with them. We keep that within this office, and that's where the final eyes of the adult are always on things, so that we do not publish if the parents have requested not to. I think that's harder, more so from my experience when you've got elementary students than you do at this age level. Again, very few parents do we have that don't want pictures published or news.
Okay, that sort of segs into the next question I have here is if you can imagine doing this with younger kids. This person has a pre-K through 9th grade school. Do you think that this would be a viable program for them?
I have done something not quite to this extent in a middle school setting. You have to spend a little more time in monitoring and filtering and setting up the shots and you know, taking care of the equipment. I think it's doable. Again, it's the commitment of time, money, resources to a program like this, but the outcome, again, I firmly believe the capturing the life of the school, it really makes a difference in all your marketing materials. I think from an admission standpoint of, can a student see themselves there? And so some of the casual moments, we have a picture up on our slideshow today of a girl just caught in passing, but it's that casual smile that you might not normally get if you said, you know, would you stop and let me take your picture?
Absolutely. I'll move on to a couple of Project Pomfret questions now. Wallace is asking, was Project Pomfret a graded class?
It's not. All the students got some sort of narrative report from the faculty members who led that there were certain projects. So those went home to parents, went to advisors. So there wasn't a formal letter grade. Like I mentioned before, there was some sort of deliverable at the end, no, be it a report, some sort of presentation. So they were graded in a sense, but not a direct letter grade that would go on a transcript for college, no.
Okay, thank you. Linda's asking, how did you make up the 2.5 weeks of teaching time which was given up for Project Pomfret? Did you get a shorter spring vacation or a longer school year?
A couple of ways we tried to sneak back in sometimes. There was a couple of days during the school year in planning this year's schedule that we kind of, in a sense, took back a day. And then we worked with faculty, the school, the department heads worked with faculty on modifying their courses to make up for the time, and we've had some interesting faculty discussions on what we can do better next year, and did we really lose 2.5 weeks. The AP classes in particular were allowed to assign a small project over the holidays to try and keep the kids going. Another example was language tables at dinner. We're a boarding school, boarding and day, but predominantly boarding, and so we had, for example, a Spanish table so that they could keep up their language skills. And it really depends on the structure of the classroom and how the teachers were going. I teach a trimester course, and so to have to modify and take out that amount of time could be problematic, but instead I just have to modify the goals of the class and what we're doing, and the kids are still at the level where I need them to be. So it's all a matter of just really working within the constraints, as we often do when you get a snow day and you just pick up where you left off.
Great, thank you. Carson, Steve is asking, how have prospective students and families responded? Is this a draw for students?
I think it definitely is a draw, and there's other schools out there that have similar programs. And I think in some senses similar programs. I think ours is a little more academic based. We're not doing 2.5 weeks scuba diving in Costa Rica. It's all kind of in-house. It was the first year. I will tell you, we're setting up our acceptance packets right now, and one of the things going in our packet is a list of all 29 of the projects that were done this past winter. So it's definitely been a draw. It's been a nice speaking point with families. I think as this continues to evolve, in the next couple of years. I think it'll be even more of a draw. But families really enjoy walking around campus if they're visiting during the time and seeing students in action. And like I mentioned before, I was a little bit nervous at first, wondering, what our bridge building crew was doing and some of our other projects going on. But we've got really positive feedback from families and families asking if they can have a list for next year of what the projects are going to be, which I do not have yet. But overall it's been pretty positive.
Excellent, thank you. Laurie is asking, how long has Pomfret had a marketing and communications department separate from admissions?
This is the 5th year of the MARCOM model, Marketing Communications Model. It started out with the director, Sharon Godrow, and a half-time person, and has evolved over the years to now we're basically at what we would consider full, which is 4 full-time and 1 half-time person. And this model developed through a lot of budget analysis and discussions with the other departments on what they needed and what we could do for them so that they can do their job better. So we now have meetings constantly with the other departments on all the projects, and then we take it from there. And again, a lot of the credit goes to Sharon Godrow, our Director of Communications, for really putting this department in place and seeing it to where it is now through budget analysis and project management of every area, so that we support all areas of the school, so that Carson and his crew can go out and do what they do with the interviews, etc., and then we do the marketing for them and the materials, and some of the slideshows we put those together. Advancement, the same thing, so they can do their job and we do ours.
Excellent, thank you. Ella is asking, once you've gathered all this material, what have been your most effective channels for getting it out there, especially in the admissions sense?
I mean, I would say a huge piece for us, and I'm guessing most of the people listening right now know, I mean, I think word of mouth has been huge for us. One piece we've been doing the past couple weeks is retraining tour guides a little bit to talk about Project Pomfret. We've done some receptions on the East Coast, 4 or 5 receptions here the past month and a half, where I've brought students, and I've talked to the students about sharing their ideas on Project Pomfret and their experiences. So I think hearing it from the students' mouths, that's why I think something like, in their own words that Robin put together with the kids was so telling, because it was coming right from the student's mouth. And I hope you were able to watch the video, and I think that really speaks volumes to families. And I think, most of you here know, I think students want to imagine themselves being at a place, and what better way than from kids who are already here. It's not from the admissions director smiling and telling you how great it is. It's really word of mouth from the students. So I think that the word of mouth piece has been huge for us.
Thank you. Josh is asking, what would you do differently if you had a 1 or 2 person communication office? Would you need to reduce these projects with students with less people in your office?
I think we would. We'd have to prioritize, just as we did not have the graphic designer at this point last year. We hired once again a budget analysis and showed how if we brought all that work inside, we could not only hire full-time, we could save the school budget dollars, and we actually could create a better project. So if we had to reduce staff, or if we were in a smaller office, certain projects probably would not be at the level that we currently are and the pace that we're at. I am a proponent of always working with students in this type of environment and letting them support what you do and give their input and allow them to publish. So I would look for ways to perhaps not have as big of a team, but still bring some students in to really show their school. They speak passionately about what they do.
Excellent. A technical question. Jeannie is asking, what video editing software did the kids use for In Your Own Words?
That was in Final Cut Pro. And again, we had an adult who did the bulk of the work, and then they were involved in all aspects, but they were not as hands-on at that point in the project as Tim was. But it was a learning moment because you would have them go through and see how it was done and give suggestions. Can we cut that little piece there? Can we speed that up? Can we take out that little clip of music? How about switching these pictures? Storyboarding, which many of you may or may not know too much about, was a huge role in here. How do you tell a story? Which goes back to the original, one of the 4 themes of the project. And the other interesting note, we had that fair in the fall, and I really think empowering students to make choices and decisions is important. And they actually put the faculty, we had to prepare for that fair and then actually kind of sell our projects. And the kids really came around and were interested and took a role in what they were going to do, and took ownership once they got to us that, yes, I did want to do this, I really want to do this. And they were given choices, and then it all was mathematically put together.
Okay, thank you. I'll give you one more question from Jocelyn. I'm wondering, Robin, if you might be able to navigate back to the slide that has yours and Carson's email addresses on it, just in case.
That's actually
great.
That was actually our last slide.
Jocelyn's asking if you experience competition with student journalism programs.
Have we experienced competition with student journalism programs? I'm not really sure what she's asking. We don't have a journalism per se within the school. We don't have a journalism program. We have a student newspaper, and we share a lot of stuff back and forth.
I think that's probably what she's asking.
Does that?
Yeah. Okay. Yes, she said yes. That's what she was asking.
Right. We share. That is perhaps, besides the energy of the students, the ability or the want to share across departments and across publications is really phenomenal here, so that our marketing pictures are not our pictures. If they need them for the yearbook, they can get them. If they need them for the newspaper, they can get them. The literary magazine, it's all one big, I really promote with the kids, you need to share with others.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I think we'll cut off the Q&A at that point. We're at 4:02 right now. So I'll give you a moment if you'd like, and then I'll pop back in.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, and please feel free to reach out and contact us with more questions.
Just a reminder to everyone that this webinar is being recorded. Robin is also going to be submitting a PDF of the presentation to me, and both of those will be posted on the webinar page on admission.org. Most likely sometime tomorrow. I'll send all the registrants a link to that page once it's been posted. And once again, if you've had any questions, please feel free to contact Carson or Robin with them. I want to thank Carson and Robin for presenting this presentation today, and have a great admission season, everyone.